All right, let's go do something today. Where are we at here? $29,982. Go rattle off a couple of more miles and hit the car wash. And we'll go talk about what it's like to ride a CFMoto Ibex 450 for 30,000 kilometers. My Road Glide is angry at me. I haven't even looked at it this year. No plate or nothing. Sorry, girl. Soon. All right, here we go. 30,000 kilometers. Had the bike just about, 15 months, just about to the day. Got it February 8th in 2025 from VI Power Sports in Nanaimo on Vancouver Island. I bought the bike mostly based on just reports because it had been out in like Australia and England for about a year, and just nothing but good reviews. You know, it's just everybody said it was a real solid machine, and it seemed to tick all the boxes for what I was looking for. My background is mostly Harley touring bikes, but I wanted to get into the off-road scene a few years ago. So I think 2002 or 3, I bought a DR650, a really beat, clapped out DR650. I think I paid $2,500 for it, just to make sure that I was going to, dig the off-road riding. I'd done a bunch when I was a kid, but hadn't been off-road on a bike in years, probably 40 years. So the 650 filled the void. I jumped on that, and within 2 years, I did 25,000 kilometers on that bike, all off-road. It was a bear to ride on the highway, so I didn't really like riding it anywhere too far. So it was just on the local roads right around my hometown, Port Alberni, and gravel roads, logging roads, trails and stuff. Kind of learned what it could do and what I could do and couldn't do. Quite a few spills, but yeah. So I knew I was that I was going to stick with it, and I started looking for a machine that could maybe handle a little bit of more road work if I wanted to go on a trip somewhere, like to the interior, and then ride off road. So as soon as I saw this thing, I loved the look of it, and just started watching more and more videos on, like I say, guys in Australia and England, and yeah, everybody just raved about it. So I thought, let's do it. So I went down to the dealership and put a deposit on the bikes before they even showed up. I think I was they didn't even know when they were getting them. I think I was about 6 months ahead of delivery, but it was, it was $500. So I threw a deposit on it just to make sure I got, one of the first bikes delivered. And as it turned out, I ended up getting the first bike delivered. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, started racking up the miles right away. I think I originally was going to go with just the factory warranty, but it was, it was 2 years or a year, I don't remember, but it was, or 10,000 kilometers, whichever came first. And I thought, I'm going to hit 10,000 kilometers in a few months. So there's no way I'm going to be, out of warranty in 2 or 3 months on a brand new bike. So I opted for the warranty, mostly just because it was a brand new model. I know the motor's been out in the 450 SS and a few, a couple other bikes from CFMoto, but I just thought, yeah, I'm not usually a warranty guy because I, typically do all my work myself, but I thought with a model this new, let's get it. And plus I knew I was going to be racking up the miles on it, and the extra warranty is unlimited kilometers. So, and it covers the drivetrain. Doesn't cover quite all the stuff that the standard warranty does, but it covers the important stuff that I was worried about anyways. So I did that. And at the 1 year mark in February, a few months ago, I was at 24,000, I think. Yeah, 24,000 kilometers in a year. And then the weather kind of turned for a little while, and I had some downtime doing other stuff. Like last summer, I was in Europe for a few weeks, and so no riding going on then. But as soon as the weather straightened out, I started racking up the miles again, and I did another 6,000 kilometers in the last couple of months to get it up to 30,000. So I can't say enough about the bike. They're a super solid machine. The roads I ride on, I'll pick up the camera in a bit and show you a few things on the bike, and I'll give you an idea of kind of what most of my riding has been. But really solid. I was kind of expecting, because there's so much, plastic covers and stuff like that in the tower, and the where you mount your phone and the windshield and stuff like that. I thought for sure I'd be dealing with stuff rattling loose, because the suspension is a bit stiff, or stiffer than what I was used to. I mean, the 650 was like a sofa, it's too soft, obviously, but I didn't know any better. It was my first off-road bike. Um, the difference is that was a real smooth ride at slow speed, but you got beat up at high speed on that bike. Whereas this KYB suspension handles the high speed stuff unbelievable. Like, the faster you go, the better it eats up the rough road. So yeah, I was expecting to get, lots of, or not lots, but I was expecting some loose covers, plastic covers and stuff like that. Nothing. I haven't had to tighten a bolt as far as things rattling loose or anything like that. It's just been rock solid. I've heard a few guys complain about different fasteners here and there, risers and stuff like that. I went to some 2-inch rocks risers, and no issues at all. They came right off. They weren't over torqued or anything, and the new ones went on and tightened everything up, and they haven't budged since. And this bike gets ridden, gets beat. So I'm super impressed with that. I did get quite a few options. I'll grab the camera in a minute, and we'll kind of go over all the stuff that I've added to it and done to it. But no performance changes. I didn't change the exhaust or muffler or anything like that. It sounds good, I think. The aftermarket mufflers, every one I've heard on YouTube, I mean, it's hard to get a feel for it because they're, you're listening through a phone speaker or whatever, so you can't really get a feel for how they sound, but they all seem kind of loud to me, and I didn't want to go any louder. It's got a pretty good, deep, throaty rumble to it. I like it. And plus I use it in the fall for hunting. I strap my rifle to it, and off I go in the bush. And it's I mean, it's not quiet by any means, but I just didn't see any need to make it any louder. So yeah, super happy with the bike. I haven't even been back to see my dealer other than the first service. I got them to do the first service for me, and then I've been doing all the oil changes and maintenance and stuff myself. No warranty issues so far, knock on wood. The only issue the bike has had, and I mentioned this in a previous video, the front brake light switch left the chat real early at around probably 5,000 or 6,000 kilometers or something. It's just a tiny little micro switch, and who knows if it was dust that got in there or what, but it just quit working. So I mean, I could have got it fixed under warranty, but the dealership at that time was a little over an hour away, so I would have either had to ride down there and then sit around for the day while they replaced this $30 part, or I would have had to throw it on the trailer and spend $100 in gas to drive it down there and back. And I just said, forget it. I just ordered the part and did it myself. It's, 2 Phillips screws and a switch or a plug, and you're done. It took like 5 minutes. So, but that's it. That's the only thing that has been any issue at all. Everything else has been rock solid. I've gone through a few sets of tires. Obviously, I ran the stock tires for 3,000 kilometers. Those CST tires, I think they're called. they were okay in gravel, and on the road they were great on the road, but I don't do a whole lot of road riding, so they were decent in the gravel, but as soon as you hit anything wet, they were just useless. They were sliding all over the place. I should mention my son's got the same bike. He bought after he tried mine. He was looking at a Tenere, and he came up to port and took mine for the day and rode out to the west coast to Fino and stuff. And he came back, and I think he made the order that day. Like he just fell in love with it. So he bought his a few months after mine, and he's still got the CST tires. And but he's a busy guy. He's working full time and doesn't have as much time to ride as I do. Obviously, I'm retired, so he's probably just going to ride those tires till they're done. So, but yeah, so I had the CSTs for 3,000, and then I put a set of Tusk 2-track tires on, and they were actually pretty good. They lasted a long time. The rear was decent. I got 12,000 kilometers out of that set of tires. Um, and I probably could have got another 2 or 3,000 out of it, I think. But the front started washing out all over the place. The tread still looked good. I forget what the measurement was, but it was still good. There was no cupping or anything like that. But it just didn't give me any confidence in corners on the highway or on the gravel. You know, it was just washing out in corners and stuff. And the rear, even from the time it was new, I could spin that thing up without even trying. Um, you know, fishtailing around corners, power sliding, and little twist of the throttle, and it would just break loose. I mean, it was fun, but traction wasn't its forte for sure. And that's the trade-off, right? The Tusk 2-track is made out of a really super hard compound. So with that hard compound, you get good mileage, you know, 12,000 kilometers out of it, and still could have gone another few thousand. But the trade-off is that it doesn't bite like a softer rubber compound. So the traction issue was a big deal for me. I never had a flat. I never had any, punctures or anything like that. But I just decided let's get rid of these and move on to something else. So I went to Moto's Tractionator Adventure in the rear, and I did the Tractionator Adventure or Tractionator Desert HT in the front. And what did I get there? I got about 9,500 out of the rear, and then it was done. I started getting flats. I think I got 2 flats in 2 days. The nice thing is, tubeless tires, I carry a plug kit and compressor and everything with me, so not a big deal. I just plugged it, filled it up, and carried on. But then the next day it happened again, and the tread was getting down there, and it was starting to lose traction. So I got rid of that. I put another Tractionator Adventure on the back, and I kept the HT, the Desert HT, on the front for a while. And I forget what I ended up putting on that. I think 14,000 kilometers on that front tire. So that's pretty decent. And I did have a couple of flats on that as well. I ended up filling it with slime because there was tiny little pinholes. I have no idea what happened, but it would lose, 10 pounds during an afternoon ride kind of thing. So when you're only running 20 pounds, that's a big deal. So I filled it full of slime, and that took care of it. I never had an issue again. It never lost, an ounce of air. But it started cupping really bad, which from my understanding is mostly caused from highway riding, and heavy braking on the highway. So yeah, I got rid of that, and I put a Tractionator Dual Venture on the front, and I'm pretty happy with that. I just put it on last week, so I don't have much on there, 1,000 clicks or something maybe. And this rear now, I've got 6,000 kilometers on it, so I'm hoping for a few more. Shooting for 10,000, but we'll see. And the jury's out on whether I'm going to go with a Tractionator on the back or not. Kind of like the looks of the Mitas Enduro Trail, but I don't know that they get the kind of mileage that the Motos gets. From what I understand, these are the best for high mileage. And because I'm able to ride every day, I'm not working, those miles stack up pretty quick. So I don't like the idea of having to change tires every couple of months. So we'll see. You know, I'm happy with the performance of the Motos, so we'll probably stick with it, I guess. But yeah, super happy with the bike. Can't say enough good things about the brand. You know, from what I understand, they've been stepping up for guys that have had issues, but luckily enough, I haven't been one of those guys. So I think they really hit the nail on the head with this bike. You know, for guys like I'm 5'11", 220 pounds. I was looking at Tenerays at first, and I took the Aprilia Touareg for a ride. I really like that bike, but I've only got a 30-inch inseam, and those bikes are pretty tall. So, you know, tackling the bike that weight and that height off road where you want to be kind of sure footed, I just didn't feel comfortable. I mean, I never took it off road, but I knew I wouldn't be comfortable with a bike that big. So this one intrigued me because of its size and weight and everything else. It's not a whole lot lighter than a T7. It's only about 50 pounds lighter than a T7, but it carries it a lot lower. You know, it doesn't feel like a heavy bike until you got to pick it up. And then it's heavy. I have had to pick it up a few times, but just slow speed stuff, goofing off in the mud and lose my balance or whatever. But it's not a lightweight bike by any means, but it's manageable and it's fairly low to the ground. I ended up getting comfortable with it enough that I went to the taller seat. That's a game changer. This thing is crazy comfortable. And I moved the suspension back up to the taller setting. And I noticed right away when I did that, because I put it on the lower setting pretty much right when I bought the bike because my daughter wanted to try it. And so I dropped it to the lower setting, and the lower seat was on it, and she loved it. And then I rode it like that for a bit, and I liked it at that setting too, so I just left it. But there was a couple of spots around here, a couple of gates that you got to crawl up and over rock piles and stuff, and it was bottoming out a bit. So I went back to the taller setting, and I can't flat foot it with the taller seat, the taller setting, and these tires. The 140/80 is significantly taller than the stock 140/70 that comes on the bike. So it does raise it. I would say you're probably sitting 3 inches taller than the stock bike off the showroom. But like I say, I got comfortable with it enough that I thought I'd give it a try, and I'm glad I did. It definitely feels better back on that higher setting. Just the geometry of the rear shock and stuff, it rides way better. I might even have to stiffen up the adjustment on the shock. I mean, it rides great, and I'm not bottoming out, but it does feel a bit soft again now that I'm getting used to it. So anyways, we'll grab the camera here and I'll show you some of the mods I've done, and give you a look at the odometer. And yeah, we'll talk about it some more. Okay, let's quickly talk about just some of the mods I did to kind of make the bike fit me a bit better and be useful for my purposes. Start at the front. I switched to the low fender. I just like the looks of the low fender better. It gives it kind of that T7 look, and I think, you know, it does about the same job as protecting everything as the tall fender. You're still going to get mud splashing up here with either fender. If I was going real muddy terrain, it would come all over this lower light and cover it up, but both fenders do about the same job. I forget where I ordered that from, one of the dealerships. There was a guy came online because I mentioned I was looking for one. He said he had one, so yeah, I scooped that up. I put the crash bars, OEM from CFMoto crash bars on right away when I bought it. Uppers and lowers, they went on no problem. Heard some guys say they had to really fight with them, but not an issue. Went on pretty good. The headlight on it isn't great, not gonna lie. It's pretty weak, and real narrow beam too. It doesn't it doesn't light up like any of the road or enough of the road. So anyways, I just got these cheap little spotlights. Got them from Canadian Tire. I think I literally paid like 25 bucks for them or something. And then I had to order the brackets on Amazon to fit. Those rusty nuts, I gotta get rid of those, put some stainless nuts on there. But those help a lot. My son has some bigger spotlights. I forget where he got, or what the brand is, but he got them on Amazon as well. I think they were like 150 bucks or something. They're like way brighter than these, and they're two-tone. You can run them yellow or clear. So I might upgrade for sure. I really like the looks of those. Went to the taller and wider windshield, and it really does make a big difference. I mean, that stock windshield is probably, about that wide. So this thing's easy 3.5, 4 inches wider, and it's a couple inches taller. So it does make a difference on the, well, both on the trail and on the highway. But yeah, works great. Picked up these bags off of Amazon just because I wanted to carry some of my tools up front. I didn't want to be packing everything in the back. So I've got a jump box and chain breaker, pump, all kinds of stuff in there. And then my main tool pouch is over in this one. That's got all my bike tools and stuff. So there's a fair bit of weight in those things. And I think it definitely helps the bike's handling if that weight is forward instead of everything hanging, above or behind the rear axle. So they made a big difference. And I can still fit some more stuff in there. I went on a camping trip last year up to the North Island, and I was able to stuff some food and whatever else in there. AliExpress handguards with the full metal frame. They feel rock solid. I can't say that they're bulletproof and they work great, because lucky I haven't had to test them out. I haven't dumped the bike hard enough that the handguards needed to come into play, but I think they'll do the job. They'll definitely do better than the stock plastic handguards on there anyways. And these mirrors are kind of a Heinz 57. These are Amazon arms and balls, and these are double take mirrors. I had double takes on my DR650, and then I ended up getting another pair. Can't remember why, but the ball on the double takes doesn't have this lock nut on them. So these are a much better ball, and the rubber on the double take came loose and it would just spin on there. So yeah, these balls with these cheap, and I mean cheap, these things are like 35 bucks off Amazon, and they actually have a bigger mirror than what these are. I just like the looks of the small round double takes. But yeah, these things are solid. If you're thinking about a aftermarket mirror, have a look on Amazon, because they're great. I've had these ones on for pretty much since I bought the bike, I think. So, and I bought that cheap little plastic visor. It's made to look like carbon fiber, but it's just plastic. And then this mount from AliExpress for the phone, and the phone mount. It's rubber mounted, so it, keeps things from vibration from screwing up your phone when it's up on the dash. What else did I do in the front end here? Shorty clutch lever. I really like that. It's kind of funny. The other day I was at my son's house when we were getting ready for a ride, and I just happened to sit on his bike and I squeezed his clutch. I couldn't believe how much easier it was than mine. So I took mine apart and just sprayed some WD down into the clutch cable and worked it and let it run all the way down. What a difference. I didn't realize it was getting that stiff, but yeah, big difference. Good reminder to stay on top of that maintenance. Rocks risers, I had those on my 650, and the ergonomics on this bike were a bit different than the 650. It took me a while to get used to it, but these helped. Now I'm comfortable standing up and I can still get into a tack position for the rough stuff, no problem. And then sitting down, it just brings the bars a little closer, so I wasn't leaning forward too much. So yeah, they were a good call. I like them. And then the Oxford heated grips. They come with a mount that you can mount up here for the controller, but I saw another guy do that, and I like the looks of it. It's out of the way, and doesn't get It's not going to get hit if it's sticking up here or whatever. But yeah, these heated grips are great. And I ride all winter long, so they make a big difference for sure. And then there was another guy on the island here who picked up a set of these highway pegs. He went to Ontario, I think, bought his bike in Ontario and then rode it back to Vancouver Island. And he had a set of these. And I thought, yeah, I'll give them a try. You know, they lock out of the way so that they don't fall down when you're riding in the rough stuff. But it's nice if you're on a long stretch on the road, you know, on a highway or whatever, to be able to throw your legs up there in a different position. Makes a big difference. Steg pegs. I ordered those direct from Steg Pegs in Australia, and I had them in like 2 weeks. I couldn't believe how fast they showed up. But they make a big difference. Just being able to lean your back of your boot up against that puck and take all the weight off your shoulders and stuff while you're riding makes a big difference in your fatigue standing up. I noticed right away I was able to stand up a lot longer. And then these are just cheap Amazon bags. I just needed something for carrying stuff. I put them on for a camping trip last year and I just never took them off. And I've got like a small little lawn chair. I've got another jacket in there. And all kinds of goodies. I can't remember what I carry in it regularly, but. And then this is just a Canadian Tire Pelican knockoff box. And I carry all kinds of crap in there. This is my daily go in and out of here sandwich. I forgot I brought that. I have that for lunch. That is my compressor for filling up tires and stuff. And then in here I keep a bottle of slime and a saw, a silky saw. I've had to use that a few times getting into spots where trees are down or whatever. I seem to be having an issue with chains and sprockets. I know this looks rusty, but it's not. It's one of those gold chains. Yeah, matter of fact, I just oiled it at the bottom of the hill before I came up this hill. But I switched to a 15 tooth front sprocket, and I've been getting the front sprockets off of, oh man, look at all those nails on the ground. Jesus, I have to be careful. Anyways, I've been buying these front sprockets from AliExpress, and I changed, earlier this season, I changed chain and both sprockets. And within 5,000 kilometers, that front sprocket was starting to wear, and you could hear it not meshing properly. So I'm like, what the hell is going on? So I pulled it off and I went back to a 14 tooth stock that had a few miles on it, and it was better, but you could still hear it. So then I had another brand new 15 tooth and I put that on, and the sound just completely went away and the thing is silky smooth again. So yeah, for some reason, I'm really ripping through front sprockets on this thing. My gosh, I can't believe all the nails here. I didn't see those before. They're logging up here, so I don't know. Maybe they had a pallet fire one day. I have to be careful getting out of here. Anyways, that's about it. Like I say, I'm super happy with the bike. My boy's got one. He's happy with it. I've got a couple of buddies. Chris, CritterMoto. If you're not following him, check out CritterMoto. He's got one as well, and he packs on some miles, and he loves it as well. So yeah, if you're on the fence about this bike, I would say it's well worth the money. You know, I think in Canada they're about $8,000 brand new, and a T7 is about 15,000 brand new. So, you know, it obviously doesn't have the power of the 10RA, but it's got enough power for me, and it'll cruise down the highway with that 15 tooth sprocket and whatever the stock is. I want to say 45. That combination at 100 kilometers an hour, it's doing about 4,800 RPM, and then at 110, it's like 5,300, something like that. Is that right? I think that's right. Yeah, 5,000, 5,000 at 100, somewhere in there. But it's totally reasonable. Like it'll do highway speeds all day long, no issues. Like I said, buddy rode it across Canada, no issues. I just read another story about a guy who rode it from Ontario out to Vegas, I want to say, and then he's heading back to Ontario now. So, yeah, not a problem on the highway, but they absolutely love the off road, man. They handle it really well. Pretty happy camper. Yeah, if you're thinking about it, go do it. Shout out to Mix Nuts ADV. Okay, everybody. Like Critter says, get out there and ride.